Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Crafty Crow Show. Today, one of the Facebook groups that I'm in of Harlan County history, a lady by the name of Miss Allen had commented about an old golf course here in Harlan that I knew nothing about. And the one we have currently is the Harlan County Country Club up past Linaroo toward Kaywood. But this one was in a totally different area of town. So I've done some research, found out some things, talked to somebody who used to live there on the property, and he gave me a little bit more interesting background. So let's head down the road. We'll take a drive through Lowell to get to it. It's just a short drive, and we'll find out. So, Miss Allen, this video's for you because you was wanting to know something about it. So I'm giving you all I've got. Stay with us, guys. Enjoy the ride, and let's find out some Harlan County history. So since it is such a short drive from where I live here, I'll try to give you this drive through and kind of comment on a couple of the little places along the way. Some I'm researching, some I got ideas to do videos on later on, but I guess maybe some of you have not had the chance to come down 413 here in Baxter into Lowell in a pretty good while. So as you can see, we just went by the interlocking tower that we done the video on last week. And here on the left, there used to be houses I remember growing up, but when flood control come through, it took all those out. This next house here on the left, nobody's living in now because I think last year when the water got up, it really killed the foundation on that house, and now there's nobody living there because it's about to slide off onto the riverbank. This little tight road, I do remember, I used to catch the bus to ride to high school. Mr. Fred Thornton was a bus driver, and I can remember him, and I can't remember his name. We called him Hillbilly. He lived up here. He drove for Lowell. They would pass right in that tightest spot back there, and it used to scare us to death. There's the flood wall for the train yard entrance, and that wall is humongous. Those gates are huge. You can just tell. I mean, it's hard to tell on video, I know, the size of this, but now here's the city limits of Lowell right here at the flood gate. So you'll have your train yard on the right. Here on the left, this big brick building was the RC bottling plant years ago. I do have research going on that one because Papa had worked there right after he got back from Korea, or soon after. I think he went to Chapel's Dairy first, and then started working for RC delivering pop, and that's how a lot of people in this county started knowing him. Coming up here on the left is the old Lowell City Hall. The fire department was downstairs, City Hall was upstairs. I don't remember exactly when they moved, but they moved over into the old Lowell School. That's where City Hall is now. The fire department is still there, though. Now we'll take a left onto Wilkerson Street, which is also Highway 840. The bridge we're going across here is a new bridge. They built this. There used to be an old concrete bridge, and it had kind of an arch that went across. You know, it kind of arched. This is over where the Cumberland River used to run before the flood wall came through. Now it's just kind of a drainage ditch on both ends. Got our one red light here in Lowell. J&R Printing is still there on the left that we just passed. And I'm sure a lot of you older people can give more of a history of this stretch of road than me. Starting right up here, about where that vehicle's pulling out, they redone this entire road. Because if I remember right, it used to go straight, and here at the bottom of Park Hill would do a curve, and it went across a big bridge, and then big steel bridge, and there was a walkway bridge also. I remember as a kid, and they've wiped all that out with the flood wall construction now, so you just have this nice straight solid drive. It's a whole lot safer stuff. You know, that bridge was getting older. But then we come in here overlooking Rio Vista, I guess it depends on where you're coming from. Rio Vista was never incorporated into the city of Lowell. I know that the city's tried to do that numerous times over the years, but they've always liked their independence and not been under the city. So there's 5 streets though in Rio Vista, and it's pretty easy to find things. But the place we're going to would be right here in front of us. And it's took a while to research this and looking at old maps and everything. Nothing's really clear. But the place we're going to is right here. My first part of history was from a book that was written by William Forrester back in the early 80s. Before We Forget is the name of the book. It's about Harlan County history from the 1920s to the 1930s. This is what he had to say about this golf course. A group composed mostly of newcomers decided to organize a golf links. They decided that Skidmore Farm would be a better location for the golf course than the one available at Emerling, which is where we're talking about now, is Emerling. So clad in their knickers, they called on Daniel Skidmore to attempt to lease his property. They presented their proposition skillfully, but Mr. Skidmore emphatically declined. Since they had made him an attractive offer, they asked him for the reason for the refusal, and he replied that for one thing, it's that filthy garb you're wearing. The organizers of the club were soliciting members and asked one prominent old-timer to become a member, explaining to him that it was good exercise. I get all the exercise I want and then some working in my garden raising food for my family. That was his reply. Then they approached Judge W.F. Hall, a wealthy independent coal operator, about joining. Judge Hall remarked that, as I understand the procedure, you hit a small ball with a mallet and then you pursue it. I'm not interested in pursuing the ball. So they was getting turned down left and right. The club was finally organized and a 9-hole course was built at Emerling on what was once the old Felix Lewis's farm. Now the other bit of first-hand information that I've got was from a man named Mr. Barton. Mr. Barton lived there on the old golf course property in the 80s and 90s, he said. He so far has not been able to find any pictures or anything of it, but he said that the Whitfields, which was a prominent family in the early coal history here in Harlan, had a summer home there across the road. And I'm assuming it's in this area where this old stone wall was, because this stone wall matches a lot of the stone walls that was built in Harlan City at the time. He said that across from their home they had a walkway lined with old millstones. Now where those millstones come from I'm not sure, because I have found some very old Harlan maps. There was a grist mill down where the Civic Center parking lot is now. It's got labeled, the building as a grist mill, probably in the teens and 20s. So they could have come from there and the Whitfields acquired them. But they had the walkway to a rose garden lined with these stones. And in the middle of that rose garden, they had a big plaque or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll show it to you, from the USS Kentucky. Now I'll try to show you pictures of that ship. Best I can tell, there's been 3 ships named the USS Kentucky. This was probably from the first one, known as the time era. Looks like this course was probably completed. I've not got an accurate date documented anywhere, but in the very early 1920s, the late teens to early 20s, and we know it was used up until 41 for sure, because that's when the new one was built. And I would say the new one's built on the Skidmore farm they originally wanted it to be built. It's up on a mountain, it's outside a floodplain, unlike the one there at Emerling. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot left. Along this side, you've got the flood wall, and from what I understand and from looking at maps, this flood wall went right through the middle of where this golf course was. There used to be a loop lane down there where I showed you that come in. That's probably the best landmark we got, that old post. And that's where I've told the entrance gate kind of was. Now they said that off to the left was where the clubhouse was located for the golf course. So it was right here close to the tracks up here in the front. But all that in the background, you can see that's 5th Street on Rio Vista, and this was all big one open farm, one open field back in the day. So I think 1941 is when they put in the new golf course. So this thing would have definitely been closed by 1940 probably. But you know, that's the best information we've got and that I could get to you. So here we are, the old golf course. I don't know the name, but this was the original country club of the day, I guess is what it ended up being. According to that information, that's the way it sounds. And there's all the information I've come up with so far. I know it's not a lot of pictures or anything, but I did have a separate ending shot for this video and more discussion in the Historic Harlan County Facebook page. Those of you all that are not familiar with it, if you're interested in this Harlan County history, get on Facebook and find that page because it's a great page. Show lots of different pictures and everything, lots of interesting people and interesting information. On that page, I did get hooked up with one of the Whitfield family, and they told me, did confirm that those millstones and the USS Kentucky windlass cap did come from that property. He said that his grandparents had purchased the property after it was a golf course. He also said there was tennis courts on the course, which was a pretty cool thing, but the Whitfield family had purchased that property after it ceased becoming a golf course. None of us are still sure on the dates from the beginning or when it stopped, but he said that on September 13th of 1927, his great-grandparents were either going to the course or going to the property after they purchased it and got killed at the train crossing there at Rio Vista that you seen in the video we went across. His family bought the property that became Rest Haven Cemetery. So if you go to Rest Haven, the big dome or whatever you call it there in the center, that's considered the old section of Rest Haven. That is where those his great-grandparents are buried. And they originally bought that property, which, like I said, expanded out into Rest Haven Cemetery. So I thought that was interesting. But he said he don't know if they were going down there for the farm that they had or if it was to visit the golf course at the time. But we got confirmation that's where those stones around the courthouse and that windlass cap come from. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, with most of these Harlan history videos, it's kind of a fluent thing a lot of times, especially this older history where you can't find much. So for pictures and things, if any of you all have anything to share, please share it on here. And if I find more pictures or anything later on for any of the projects that I do, I'll post those onto that Facebook group. I won't do a whole video on it or anything, but I'll post them as updates and stuff so we can all kind of stay updated with the video. But time constraints and for getting content out to you all, I got to go with what the best I can get. So I try to be very thorough, but you know how it is sometimes. So just wanted to say that. Wanted to add an extra thank you to Mr. Whitfield. I don't know if he wants me to use his first name or not, but thanks for that extra information, that confirmation. Also to Miss Allen for the information she provided and Mr. Barton for the information he provided. Thanks all of y'all for the help that you've gave. Thanks for the interest you've gave on these videos. More stuff in the works, but like I said, it takes a while to research some of it. But thank you all for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, remember, love one another as the good Lord tells you. We'll see you on the next video.